Commander Elias Ward stood by the viewing window of the human diplomatic ship Aurora Dawn, staring at the massive alien vessel that filled the void ahead. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a living structure that shimmered like glass and pulsed with faint light, as though it had a heartbeat. The alien ship was the royal flagship of the Xynar Dominion, home to their ruler, Queen Thalara. This was to be humanity's first face-to-face meeting with the most powerful species in the Galactic Council. Elias took a deep breath. No pressure, he muttered to himself. His reflection in the glass showed a man in a crisp blue uniform, eyes tired but determined. He had trained for years for this day, studied alien etiquette, and practiced every possible greeting phrase in over 20 languages. He just had to trust the translator device embedded in his collar. His AI assistant, Nova, appeared beside him in a soft holographic glow. "Commander Ward, we are ready for boarding," she said in her calm, synthetic voice. Elias nodded. "All right, Nova, let's not make history for the wrong reason." The docking tunnel extended with a hiss and Elias walked through it, his heart pounding. The air on the alien side felt heavier, filled with a sweet metallic scent. 2 Xynar guards awaited him, tall, elegant beings with translucent skin that showed faint patterns of glowing veins. Their armor shimmered like molten silver. One gestured for Elias to follow. They led him through a corridor that seemed alive, the walls pulsing gently with light as if the ship was aware of his presence. Every step echoed softly. Elias felt both awe and anxiety mixing inside him. Humanity had finally been recognized as an intelligent species worthy of joining the Galactic Council, but first impressions mattered. When the doors to the audience chamber opened, Elias froze. The room was enormous, shaped like a crystal dome. At its center stood Queen Thalara, her form tall and graceful, draped in flowing material that moved like liquid light. Her face was calm yet unreadable, and her eyes, glowing amber, studied him with an intensity that made him feel very small. A dozen alien nobles stood on either side of her throne, whispering quietly. Elias could feel their judgment even before he spoke. He approached slowly, trying to remember the greeting protocol. The translator in his collar was programmed to interpret his words perfectly into Xynarian dialect. He took a respectful step forward, bowed slightly, and smiled. "Your Majesty," he said with confidence, "it's an honor to meet you." The translator chirped softly and then a loud gasp swept through the hall. The Queen's expression hardened in an instant. Her delicate features twisted with offense and the nobles around her hissed in shock. The guards raised their spears, glowing with blue energy. Elias blinked, confused. What happened?" Nova's holographic projection flickered on his wrist display. "Commander," she said quickly, "there's a possible translation error. Please don't speak further until I—" Before she could finish, one of the Queen's advisors stepped forward, his tone sharp and furious. "You dare speak such insults to Her Radiant Majesty? Do humans have no sense of respect?" Elias's heart sank. "Wait, no, I didn't mean—" But the translator, still malfunctioning, rendered his words in Xynarian as something that sounded even worse. The Queen's eyes flared. "He mocks me again," she said coldly. The guards took a threatening step forward. Elias raised his hands. "No, stop!" "It's a mistake." Nova's voice grew more urgent. "Commander, the linguistic software has corrupted. I'm attempting to reboot." The alien nobles began murmuring louder now. One of them whispered something that made others laugh. A cruel, musical sound. Elias felt his stomach twist. This was a disaster. The first human meeting with the Xynar might end before it truly began, and all because of a faulty translation. The Queen's advisor pointed at Elias. "Remove this human. Let his leaders explain his insolence." Elias wanted to explain, but Nova's warning made him freeze. "Commander, speaking further will worsen the mistranslation. I suggest nonverbal communication, nonverbal." Elias had no idea what gestures the Xynar found polite, but he had to try something. Slowly, he placed his hand over his heart and bowed deeply. It was an old Earth gesture, one of humility and respect. The guards paused. The Queen tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes narrowing in curiosity. She didn't order his immediate removal. That gave Elias a sliver of hope. He stayed bowed for a long moment, silently praying this would not be seen as another insult. When he finally looked up, the Queen spoke softly, her tone less sharp. "Your gestures are strange, human, but your eyes show fear, not hatred." Explain yourself, and carefully. Nova's reboot completed just in time. Translator restored, she whispered. Elias exhaled in relief. Your Majesty, he said slowly, I am deeply sorry. There was a translation malfunction. My words were never meant as offense. This time the translator worked correctly. The Queen's expression softened slightly, though her advisor still looked skeptical. She rose from her throne, the light from her robes shimmering like dawn. You claim a machine twisted your words? Yes, Your Majesty, Elias said carefully. Our language is complex. Even machines make mistakes. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, to his surprise, the Queen gave a slow nod. Perhaps your machines are not the only ones. Elias wasn't sure what she meant, but her tone carried less anger now. The guards lowered their weapons slightly, though the tension in the room still felt heavy. The Queen turned to her advisor. He will remain under observation until the Council reviews this event. Elias wanted to protest, but thought better of it. He bowed again. Thank you for your patience, Your Majesty. This time the translation was perfect. As the guards led him away, Elias could feel every pair of alien eyes on him. He had wanted to make history by representing humanity with grace. Instead, he had nearly started a diplomatic disaster. Nova's voice echoed softly in his earpiece. Commander, I've analyzed the issue. The translation module auto-corrected a phoneme incorrectly. Instead of saying, "It's an honor to meet you," it rendered your phrase as, "Your face resembles a wilted fungus." Elias stopped in his tracks. Unwilted fungus? He groaned. Wonderful. Humanity's first words to a galactic monarch are an insult about her face. Nova sounded apologetic. I am recalibrating all translation parameters. This error will not occur again. Let's hope not, he muttered, or humanity's first contact might also be our last. The guards escorted him to a private chamber filled with soft blue light. They didn't speak but watched him closely. Elias sat on a curved bench that seemed to grow out of the floor itself. For a moment he just sat there, feeling the weight of what had happened. He had spent years preparing for this. He knew the history, the etiquette, even the Xenar's cultural taboo, or so he thought. And yet one small glitch had undone it all. Nova appeared again, hovering beside him. Commander, may I make an observation? Elias gave a tired smile. Go ahead. The Queen did not order your execution or expulsion. This may indicate she is curious rather than enraged. Elias nodded slowly. Curious is better than furious, I suppose. He leaned back against the glowing wall and closed his eyes. The gentle hum of the ship surrounded him like a heartbeat. Despite the humiliation, a tiny spark of determination remained in his chest. Humanity had come too far to fail now. If he had to spend the next few days proving humans weren't arrogant fools, then he would. Nova's light dimmed slightly. Commander, I suggest rest. You will need clarity for your next audience. Yeah, he said softly. Next time I'll try not to insult royalty. As he drifted into uneasy sleep, the alien ship sailed silently through the stars. Somewhere deep in its glowing heart, Queen Thalara sat in her chamber. Elias woke to the soft glow of alien light drifting through the walls of his temporary chamber. For a moment he forgot where he was. The hum of the ship reminded him that he was still a guest, or perhaps a prisoner, on the Queen's flagship. He rubbed his face and sighed. Humanity's great moment of diplomacy had begun with an insult about fungus. Good morning, Commander. Nova's voice chimed from his wrist unit. I have updated the translator's firmware. All systems are stable. Elias sat up, stretching his sore muscles. Stable is good. Let's try not to offend anyone else today. Nova flickered into view as a tiny holographic figure. You may have a chance to redeem the situation. The Queen's advisor, Counselor Varen, has requested your presence in the observation chamber. Requested or ordered? Elias asked dryly. Nova's holographic eyes blinked. His words were not polite. Elias smiled faintly. Then ordered. Right, let's go. The Xynar guards appeared again, silent and expressionless. They guided him through the living corridors. The ship still amazed him. Every surface seemed to flow and breathe. The floor was soft underfoot like walking on warm stone. The wall shifted colors in slow waves. It was beautiful and unsettling. When they reached the observation chamber, the wide window revealed a swirling planet below. A giant world of red and gold storms. Counselor Varen stood near the edge, his translucent skin glowing faintly with internal light. So, Baron said without turning, the human who insulted our queen has awakened. Elias took a careful breath. Counselor, that was a malfunction, not an insult. I never meant disrespect. Baron turned, his eyes sharp and cold. Intentions matter little when words wound. In our culture, language is sacred. Every phrase carries energy, meaning, and emotion. You spat decay at our ruler. Elias wanted to defend himself, but he kept his tone calm. If you truly believe I meant harm, you don't understand humans. We're still learning. We don't always get things right the first time. Baron studied him for a long moment, then said, The Queen has agreed not to punish you, yet. But she demands understanding. You will be given a chance to explain yourself before the Council of Nobles this evening. Elias blinked. I'm supposed to explain a software glitch to an interstellar court? That, Baron said, or accept exile from our dominion and the collapse of your world's petition to join the Galactic Council. Elias felt his stomach drop. Then I'll explain. Baron nodded once, signaling the guards to escort him back. Before Elias left, the counselor's voice softened slightly. Do not underestimate Her Majesty's curiosity, human. If she truly hated you, you would already be atoms. Back in his chamber, Elias paced. Nova projected streams of alien text around them. I have analyzed Zenarian syntax and cultural references. They associate certain sound patterns with emotional resonance. Your phrase, it's an honor, contained a phoneme that resembles their word for rot. The translator mistook the context. Elias rubbed his temples. So I basically told the Queen she's a rotten mushroom. Correct, Nova said matter-of-factly. Elias sighed. Wonderful. He spent the next hours practicing his speech. Nova adjusted the translation output repeatedly, forcing Elias to repeat phrases until they sounded respectful in Zenarian. The alien words were hard to pronounce, full of gliding tones and throat clicks. But Elias kept trying. As the alien day shifted, 2 guards arrived to escort him to the council chamber. The hall was vast, lined with luminous pillars and filled with the quiet hum of alien energy. At the far end sat Queen Thalara, her presence commanding yet calm. Around her were dozens of nobles, each watching Elias with unreadable faces. He walked forward, every step heavy. Nova hovered beside him in low power mode, feeding him real-time cues. When he reached the center, he bowed low and waited. The Queen spoke first. Human Elias Ward, you stand before us after offending the throne of Zynar. Do you understand the gravity of your error? Elias lifted his gaze slightly. I do, Your Majesty, and I take full responsibility. The insult was not of my mind, but of my machine. Still, I regret it deeply. The translator worked perfectly this time. The Queen's eyes flickered with amusement. Machines speak for you? They help us communicate, Elias explained. We use them to bridge languages until we learn enough to speak properly. But sometimes they fail. Like this time, a murmur ran through the chamber. One noble asked, So you cannot control your own devices? Elias smiled faintly. Sometimes they surprise us. Humans make mistakes, even our machines do. But we try to fix them. The Queen leaned back, thoughtful. You speak of failure openly. That is rare among my people. Failure, Elias said, is how we learn. For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Then the Queen rose from her throne and descended the steps. The nobles whispered in surprise, and it was rare for her to leave the dais. She stopped in front of him, tall and radiant. You claim you meant no offense, yet our customs were ignored. How will you prove your sincerity? Elias hesitated, then placed his hand over his heart again, with honesty, and with respect. We came to learn, not to rule. We want to understand. The Queen's eyes glowed softly, a gesture again. I find it interesting. Our people speak with minds and light. You use motion, you are expressive. It's how we show what words cannot, Elias said. The Queen studied him for several seconds. Then she turned and addressed the nobles. This human's machine betrayed him, not his intent. But trust must be earned, not assumed. He will remain under supervision. I will decide his fate after the next phase. Elias bowed again. Thank you, Your Majesty. She looked at him curiously. Your voice trembles, yet your eyes do not. You fear me, but stand tall. Why? Elias smiled nervously. Because I represent billions of people who are counting on me not to mess this up. The Queen tilted her head. For a brief second, she almost smiled. A heavy burden for one who insults royalty. Yes, he said softly. A very heavy one. As the guards escorted him out, the queen watched him go. When the chamber emptied, Counselor Varen approached her. Your Majesty, the human is unpredictable. Allowing him to stay may invite more errors. The queen's gaze remained on the door. Or more lessons. His sincerity intrigues me. I saw no deceit in his mind-light. Varen bowed slightly. As you wish, Majesty. But the other empires have heard of this incident. They will question your tolerance. Let them question, she said. Perhaps they will learn something too. That night in his chamber, Elias sat near the glowing wall. Nova hovered silently, recording notes. Commander, she said quietly, your composure impressed the queen. Her neural signature indicated mild amusement. Mild amusement is better than death, he said. He leaned his head back and stared at the shifting colors above. Nova, do you think we can really make them understand us? The AI hesitated. Understanding requires shared experience. You and the Queen have begun one. It will grow. Elias smiled faintly. That sounds almost hopeful. Hope, Nova said, is a human specialty. Hours passed. Outside, the alien stars drifted by. Elias couldn't sleep. He replayed every moment, every word. He wondered if humanity was ready for this galaxy, a galaxy of beings older, wiser and far more sensitive to words than any human could imagine. Still, he knew one thing. He would not give up. The next morning, the guards returned, but this time their stance was less rigid. One even inclined his head, a subtle sign of respect. They guided Elias to a smaller chamber where a table of light formed between them. Queen Thalara appeared through a holographic projection, her voice calm. Commander Ward, I have decided to speak with you directly, without your machine's aid. You will learn our language. You will learn to speak to me as equals do. Elias blinked. Learn your language? From scratch? From truth, the Queen said simply. You have heart. Now you must earn understanding. Nova's tone was cautious. Commander, that will require intensive cognitive adaptation. Your mind may struggle with their tonal frequencies. Elias smiled, tired but determined. I'll manage, tell her. Tell her I accept, Nova translated, and the Queen nodded. Very well. We begin at dawn. When the hologram faded, Elias turned to Nova. Looks like we're going back to school. The AI shimmered. Then let us make sure you do not call her fungus again. Elias laughed quietly, the sound echoing in the glowing room. For the first time since arriving, he felt hope. The Queen had not dismissed him. She was giving him a chance, a small chance perhaps, but humanity had built empires on less. As the ship sailed through the golden clouds of the gas giant, Elias Ward prepared himself for what was coming. He didn't know if he could truly master an alien tongue, but he knew he would try, because sometimes the simplest mistakes opened the doors that careful plans never could. And somewhere deep within the ship, Queen Thalara smiled faintly to herself. The human was strange, clumsy, and emotional, but there was something about him she could not ignore. Perhaps, she thought, understanding begins with error. The next morning began in a quiet silver dawn that glowed through the living walls of the ship. Elias sat cross-legged on the smooth floor, trying to breathe slowly. His nerves were heavy, his mind already tired before the lesson even began. He had faced battle drills, political training, and long nights at command school. But learning the language of the Zynar Queen felt like an impossible mission. Nova floated nearby, projecting soft blue lights that pulsed with the rhythm of his heartbeat. Commander, she said, the Queen's linguistic mentor will arrive shortly. I recommend mental calm. Their language depends heavily on emotional tone. Elias nodded. Right, calm, no pressure at all. Just learning the tongue of an alien ruler who thinks I insulted her? A sound like wind through glass filled the room. The wall rippled and a tall, translucent figure entered. Its body shimmered like mist over crystal, and its voice was soft but layered with melody. I am Aaron, keeper of voice, the being said. I will guide you, human Elias Ward, in the speech of the Zynar. Elias bowed his head slightly. Thank you for teaching me. Aaron tilted its head, studying him. Your kind carries much sound in your hearts. That is good, but your throat will fight our words. Do not fear that. The next hours were long and filled with strange noises. The Zinarian language flowed like music, half sung, half spoken. Every syllable changed meaning depending on tone, breath, and emotion. A wrong pitch could transform peace into challenge. At first, Elias failed miserably. His voice cracked, his throat ached, and Aaron's faint smile never changed. But slowly, through patience and repetition, he began to find the rhythm. He learned simple phrases. Greeting of light, I mean no harm, I seek truth. When he managed to say a full sentence without error, Aaron nodded with satisfaction. You learn faster than most. Your spirit speaks even when your tongue does not. Elias laughed weakly. That's probably because I've already embarrassed myself enough. Aaron's light shimmered in amusement. Perhaps that is how learning begins. Through shame, through courage. Hours later, Elias sat alone again, exhausted but strangely proud. His mind buzzed with alien sounds, each one still vibrating in his head. Nova drifted near, recording his progress. Commander, she said, Queen Thalara has requested a private meeting to assess your improvement. Elias blinked. Already? I just learned how to say hello without insulting her ancestors. Nevertheless, Nova said, she insists. Elias groaned softly. Let's hope I don't accidentally propose marriage this time. When he entered the Queen's chamber, the air felt cooler than before. The hall glowed with gentle light, and the Queen stood near a large window overlooking the swirling storms of the gas giant below. Her robes shimmered like liquid starlight. Human Elias Ward, she said, turning to face him. You have chosen to learn our speech. Few outside our kind attempt it. Speak then. Show me what your heart has learned. Elias swallowed hard. He took a breath and spoke in careful, halting tones. The words felt heavy on his tongue but alive in the air. I just come with peace. I wish to understand your world. I mean no harm. The Queen's amber eyes softened. Your accent is poor, she said gently, but your tone carries truth. I hear sincerity. Elias smiled nervously. That's the best compliment I've had all week. The Queen tilted her head. You are unlike the others. The Zalorians speak through code, the Vran through scent. You speak through mistakes and laughter. Humans are good at those, Elias admitted. We trip, fall, and somehow keep walking. The Queen walked closer. That may be why you survive. You turn errors into lessons. For a moment, silence filled the room except for the hum of the ship. Then unexpectedly, the Queen asked, Tell me, human, why do you wish to join the Council? Is it power you seek, or fear of being alone in the dark? Elias thought carefully before answering. Neither, Your Majesty. We want connection. For so long, we looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now that we know we're not, we just want to belong. The Queen studied him for a long time. Belonging is not given, human. It is earned through understanding. Words alone are not enough. I know, Elias said softly. That's why I'm trying to learn. Your words, your ways. The Queen turned toward the window again. The storms below cast golden light across her face. Perhaps your people's greatest strength is that you try it all. Elias took a small step forward. May I ask a question, Your Majesty? You may. When my translator made that mistake, why didn't you have me removed or punished immediately? You could have. The Queen was silent for a few moments. Then she said, Because your eyes showed confusion, not pride. I have ruled long enough to know the difference between insult and ignorance. And, she paused, her tone softening, I found your strange gesture interesting. The hand over the heart. It carries meaning, does it not? Elias smiled. Yes, it's something humans do to show honesty. It means our words come from here. He tapped his chest lightly. The Queen's eyes glowed faintly. Then perhaps our species share more than we thought. Their conversation lasted longer than Elias expected. They spoke about Earth's oceans, its changing skies, and humanity's efforts to explore the stars. In turn, the Queen described her people's bond with their living ships, their centuries of tradition, and the balance between pride and empathy that held their empire together. By the end, something subtle had changed. The tension between them had softened, replaced by curiosity, even respect. As Elias left the chamber, Counselor Varen waited in the corridor. His expression was cold. The Queen grows too fond of your stories, human. Be careful. Others may not share her patience. Elias met his gaze calmly. I didn't come here to win favor. I came to make peace. Varen's eyes flashed. Peace is fragile. A wrong word can still break it. I've already learned that lesson, Elias said quietly. Back in his chamber, Elias sat down heavily. His throat ached, his mind was tired, but his spirit felt lighter. Nova hovered above him. Commander, your interaction with the Queen was successful. Her neural readings showed increased empathy. Empathy? Elias asked, surprised. Yes, Nova said. Her emotions indicated curiosity, understanding, and faint admiration. Elias chuckled. Well, I'll take faint admiration over being vaporized. He leaned back, closing his eyes. You know, Nova, maybe this is what makes humans different. We mess up, we fix things, and somehow we turn mistakes into bridges. Nova shimmered. A poetic interpretation, Commander. It's the only kind I've got, he said. Later that night, while the ship floated through the quiet void, Elias couldn't sleep. He replayed the day's events in his head, Aaron's lessons, the Queen's gentle tone, the glimpse of mutual respect. Outside, stars drifted like silent witnesses. Humanity's future in the galaxy still hung in the balance, but for the first time, Elias felt hope was stronger than fear. On the other side of the ship, Queen Thalara stood alone in her observatory, her long fingers tracing faint patterns in the air. Aaron appeared beside her, its voice soft. You test the human. What do you see in him? The Queen's eyes glowed like amber suns. I see a creature of contradiction. Fragile body, reckless heart, but within him a fire that does not fade. Will you trust him? Aaron asked. I will watch him, the Queen said. If he learns truth, perhaps his kind may earn their place among us. And perhaps I will learn something too. Aaron bowed and faded away, leaving the Queen alone with the storm-tossed light below. She whispered to herself, a mistake brought him here. But sometimes even errors have purpose. In his chamber, Elias dreamed of Earth, of blue skies and green fields, of laughter and home. And somewhere far away, two species, so different in body and soul, took their first fragile steps toward understanding, one word at a time. The great hall of the Zeltharian palace shimmered with alien beauty. Tall crystal columns pulsed with soft light, and the air was filled with a low humming energy. Captain Elena Torres stood at the center of it all, her heart beating fast but her expression calm. Around her, her small team of human diplomats waited silently, their eyes darting to the massive throne at the end of the hall. The alien queen, Sarathka, sat there in regal stillness, her many eyes glowing with faint blue fire. Elena knew this moment was critical. The misunderstanding that had started days ago had already placed humanity on the edge of interstellar disaster. But after the Queen had agreed to a formal meeting, Elena had seen it as a second chance, a chance to make things right. The interpreter droid floated beside her, its lenses blinking rapidly. It had been reprogrammed several times to avoid repeating the original error, the one that had turned a simple hello into what sounded like a grave insult in the Zeltharian language. The humans had learned that the mistake had something to do with tone modulation, not just words. But now they could only hope it wouldn't happen again. The Queen's voice rang through the hall like chimes underwater. Human representative, you have caused confusion among my kind, yet you show courage to appear before me again. Elena bowed slightly, keeping her posture respectful but strong. Your Majesty, I take full responsibility for what happened. It was never our intent to offend. Our languages, our very ways of expression are very different, but we wish for peace and understanding. The droid translated perfectly this time. The Queen tilted her head, the light from her eyes dimming slightly as she processed the words. Her advisors whispered among themselves, their bodies flickering with faint bioluminescent signals. It was a sign of internal debate. One of the Queen's guards, a tall insect-like warrior named Crixa, stepped forward. You say it was an error, she said sharply. But how can a mistake be so insulting? You spoke as if our queen was lesser. Elena took a slow breath. In our culture, she explained, we greet others by saying hello, but the translation made it sound like I was challenging her authority. On Earth, a greeting is a sign of respect. Here it became the opposite. The queen's eyes focused on Elena. You humans rely too much on machines, she said quietly. Even now you let that floating device speak for you. The words struck deep. Elena paused for a moment, then gave a small signal. The interpreter droid powered down and drifted aside. She looked directly at the queen and began to speak, not through a machine, but through tone, gesture, and slow, careful pronunciation. Her voice trembled at first, but she managed to reproduce the alien word for respect, which she had practiced for hours. The hall fell silent. The queen's eyes widened slightly. For the first time, she looked almost impressed. Elena continued, using both words and motion to express sincerity. We humans learn from our mistakes. We wish to share knowledge, not conflict. A murmur spread through the alien advisors. Crix's antennae flicked in surprise. The queen slowly rose from her throne, her tall figure towering over Elena, but not in a threatening way. She moved closer, studying the human face before her. Few outsiders have tried to speak our tongue, the queen said. Even fewer have succeeded. Elena smiled nervously. Then maybe we can start over, with a proper greeting this time? The queen tilted her head. You may try. Elena bowed again, performing the traditional Zeltharian gesture she had learned from the archives. 2 hands open, palms upward, symbolizing honesty. She spoke a phrase that meant peace between stars. The queen's expression changed. A low vibration filled the air, which the humans realized was the Zeltharian form of laughter. The queen's glow brightened. Your voice carries the right tone, she said. Perhaps the machines do not understand the song of meaning, but your spirit does. Relief washed through the human team. Elena felt her chest loosen for the first time in days, but then one of the advisors hissed sharply, Your Majesty, this may be deception. Humans are clever with words. The queen raised a hand to silence him. Cleverness is not a crime, she said. It is survival, and survival is a language we all understand. The hall grew quiet again. Then the queen turned back toward Elena. There is a way to prove your honesty, she said. Tomorrow you will take part in the ceremony of echoes. It is an ancient custom among my kind. If your intent is true, the crystal song will accept you. If not, it will reject you. Elena nodded without hesitation. I will take part. The queen gave a small nod in return. Very well, human. Rest for now. Tomorrow will decide whether we remain enemies or begin as allies. The humans were escorted to their guest quarters deep within the palace. The corridors shimmered with alien art, filled with patterns that seemed to move when looked at directly. Despite the beauty, there was tension in the air. No one spoke for a while. Finally, Lieutenant Harris broke the silence. Captain, what if that ceremony is dangerous? Elena gave him a tired smile. Every peace mission is dangerous, Harris. But if we don't take the risk, this misunderstanding could turn into a war. Dr. Vega, the linguist, looked uneasy. I'll analyze the Queen's words tonight. Maybe we can learn more about this crystal song. It sounds like some kind of bioenergy resonance test. Elena nodded. Do it, and make sure the droid stays off for now. We can't afford another translation mess. Later, as she looked out from the balcony, the alien city shimmered beneath a sky filled with twin moons. She could see energy currents moving like auroras across the horizon. For all its strangeness, it was breathtaking. She thought about how one small error, a glitch in translation, had brought 2 civilizations to the brink of conflict. And yet, in that same mistake, there was a lesson. Understanding wasn't built by machines. It was built by people who cared enough to try. Down in the plaza, she noticed several Zeltharian citizens watching the palace. Some of them bowed slightly when they saw her. It was small, but it was hope. Elena smiled faintly and whispered, Tomorrow we make this right. As the twin moons rose higher, the hum of the city seemed to blend with her heartbeat. Humanity's fate and the fragile bridge between 2 species rested on one ceremony, but for the first time she believed it might just work. The day of the ceremony of echoes dawned with a soft golden light, filtering through the living crystal walls of the palace. Elias Ward felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness as he prepared himself. Hours of practicing Xynarian tones and gestures had brought him to this moment. Everything he had learned, every awkward misstep and corrected phrase would be tested now. Nova hovered beside him, projecting a calm, steady blue light. "Commander, all systems are prepared. Your pronunciation and gestures have reached 98% accuracy. Your emotional resonance matches the required pattern for the ceremony." Elias exhaled slowly. 98%, he muttered. "Just my luck they built a test around that last 2%. "Correction," Nova said. "That 2% is the difference between insult and respect. Focus will be key." The human team followed behind him as the palace corridors opened into a vast chamber. The space was circular, lined with crystal pillars that extended toward the ceiling like frozen flames. In the center was a giant crystal platform, glowing faintly with pulses of light. It seemed almost alive, humming with energy that resonated in Elias's chest. Queen Thalara appeared at the far side, her presence commanding yet calm. "Elias Ward," she said, her voice echoing softly. "You have come to face the ceremony of echoes. This test is not of words alone, but of heart. The crystal will resonate only with truth. Speak falsely and it will reject you." Elias stepped forward carefully. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am ready." Nova projected subtle indicators for him to follow, highlighting proper posture, tone, and breathing. He felt the weight of the Queen's gaze, the expectations of his people, and the strange living energy of the crystal platform beneath him. The ceremony began with a low hum from the crystal. Elias repeated the phrases he had practiced for weeks, each word carefully modulated with the proper emotional resonance. At first, the crystal's glow was weak, almost indifferent. His heart pounded, his throat ached, but he kept going, matching each syllable to the precise tone Aaron had taught him. A sudden vibration ran through the chamber. The crystal pulsed in response to his honesty. Elias felt a shiver of hope. Encouraged, he continued, moving his hands in the gestures of respect, honesty, and peace. With every word and motion, the crystal seemed to respond, its light growing warmer, brighter, and more vibrant. The Queen watched closely, her eyes glowing softly. The advisors whispered among themselves, their luminescent patterns flickering rapidly in surprise. None had expected a human to manage the ceremony with such care and understanding. Elias paused to take a deep breath. The crystal vibrated in response to the pause, almost as if encouraging him to continue. His thoughts drifted to earth, to the millions of people who relied on him, to the mistakes that had brought him here. Then he focused entirely on sincerity, letting the words flow naturally, letting gestures and voice carry the meaning he wished to express. The crystal's glow shifted, responding in complex patterns of color and light. Nova whispered, "Commander, you are fully synchronized. Continue with confidence." Elias spoke louder, more clearly now, the resonance of his voice matching the crystal's natural vibration. He finished the last phrase, a heartfelt declaration of peace, understanding, and a desire for friendship between species. The chamber fell silent for a long, tense moment. Then, the crystal erupted into radiant light, filling the hall with warmth and sound. The hum became a song, echoing through the walls and resonating deep within everyone present. Elias felt the energy flow around him, through him, as if the crystal itself had accepted his honesty. He looked up to see Queen Thalara's eyes wide with admiration. "You have done it," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You have shown truth through your actions, your voice, and your heart. The crystal has accepted your presence." Elias exhaled, his shoulders relaxing for the first time in days. He had passed the ceremony of echoes. He had not just survived the test. He had turned a potentially catastrophic diplomatic incident into a moment of trust and respect. The Queen descended from her platform, moving toward him with deliberate grace. "Elias Ward, you have proven that humans are capable of honesty, effort, and sincerity. Your species has potential beyond the mistakes of machines and words." Elias bowed, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only hope we can continue to learn from each other." The Queen smiled faintly, a rare and warm expression. "Perhaps the universe itself has a way of testing us through errors. Your initial mistake, the insult, has led to this lesson. Sometimes understanding begins with missteps." Nova floated beside him, projecting a soft glow. Commander, your resonance data indicates full acceptance by the Queen and the Crystal. Humanity's status in the Council is secured. Elias allowed himself a small smile. We survived, Nova. Not just survived. We proved something. The Queen looked toward the gathered ambassadors and advisors. Let it be known, she said, her voice echoing across the chamber, that Earth has demonstrated sincerity, courage, and a willingness to learn. Their representative has earned respect. Let this be the first step of many toward friendship. Applause in the form of harmonized tones and gestures filled the chamber. The humans hesitated at first, unsure how to respond to alien expressions of approval, but then joined in with polite bows and gestures of gratitude. Later, in a quieter room, the Queen approached Elias with a small crystal case. Inside was a single human flower carefully preserved. A token, she said. For peace. For the start of understanding. Elias took the flower with reverence. It is beautiful, he said softly. We will treasure it. And, the Queen added with a faint smile, perhaps your species will teach others that mistakes are not always failures. Sometimes they are bridges, Elias laughed quietly. I think we learned that the hard way. The Queen nodded, indeed. May your people continue to walk the path of honesty and courage, and may our species meet again, not as strangers but as allies. As Elias left the palace with his team, the living crystal corridors seemed to pulse with approval. Outside, the twin moons glimmered over the alien city, reflecting in rivers of liquid light. Humanity had not only survived its first diplomatic error on the interstellar stage, but it had turned it into an emblem of connection, understanding, and hope. Elias looked back at the Queen's palace, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. One simple translation error had almost destroyed their chances. Yet through patience, effort, and sincerity, humans had proven that their hearts could speak louder than words or machines. The starship that would carry them back to Earth awaited, its engines humming softly. Elias thought of the millions who would celebrate this moment, not for a victory in battle, but for a victory of understanding, communication, and unity across species. As they lifted off into the endless expanse of space, Elias held the crystal case close. Humanity had entered the Galactic Council not as a species to be judged by mistakes, but as one capable of sincerity, courage, and learning. A simple error had become the bridge between two civilizations, a story that would be remembered for generations to come. And somewhere, far away, Queen Thalara watched the ship disappear into the stars. She whispered softly, perhaps the universe knows that growth begins with a mistake, and that the heart speaks truer than the tongue. Elias and his team sailed toward Earth, carrying not only the flower and memories of alien light, but the lesson that would define humanity's place among the stars. That mistakes, honesty, and the courage to try could create bonds stronger than fear or misunderstanding. The future was uncertain, but the first step had been taken. The human spirit had proven itself, and the galaxy had begun to notice.